So as you can see here, we are able to run the application for both Android and iOS. And you can see that in the app Android, we can refresh the weather and the weather will automatically change to a random location. And based on that, the icon as well changes in the home screen. If I go in the iOS, you can see I can hit refresh, it will automatically update in the home widget as well. So if I click on home, you will see it is automatically updated. And these widgets are not the native code that is written inside Android or iOS. It is written all in Flutter. We just have to write it once for Flutter, and then we can make it for both Android and iOS without any issues. Hey, what's up everyone, I'm Nishmathan and welcome to my YouTube channel. So in this video, we'll be making a complete home widget application inside Flutter. So we'll be not needing any native code for both Java or Swift UI to make our UI for the home widget. We'll be using just the Flutter UI. So if you're interested in that, make sure to stick till the end. So now we'll see how we'll be making the home widget application in Flutter. So I have made some timestamps that you can check it out from below as well. So these are the timestamps, and first we'll be talking about the home widgets. Why do we need them? What are they? Then what this is little to no native code. What do I mean by that? Then we'll talk about the Flutter code that we have in the application. And then Android configuration. What do we have to do inside Android XML files? What do we have to change in that? And for the iOS configuration as well, what extra things we have to add that for the iOS configuration that we'll talk about. So why do you need home widgets? So home widgets are the widgets that are not inside your Flutter application, but on your home screen, or also it can be also on your lock screen as well. So these are really essential whenever you're making the applications like calendar app, notes app, where you want the user that the data that you have in the app can be accessible and they can see that data without any effort, like opening the app, going with the flow, and without doing that, notes, the recent notes they can see, calendar they can see, weather they can see, and a whole bunch of other data they can see. Right, so in that case, home widgets can be really helpful. What does this little to no native code mean? So let me show you a quick demo of the application of the Flutter code that I used. So if you go inside the code, by the way, the code is mentioned in the description box as well, so you can check that out. So here inside the views, you can see a home widget.dat file is there. On clicking that, we have this home widget. Now you can see it has a column, it has an image, it has a text and a text. So this is the image, as you can see. Then we have a weather, we have the weather value, then we have the city name or the area name that you can see. So this widget that we saw in the demo earlier was built not with the Android native UI, is not built using Swift UI, is built using Flutter UI. So that's what I mean, right? Now let's see the Flutter code entirely, like how we'll be using. So first things first, you have to add a pubspec YAML, and we'll be needing a few packages for this. Number one, we'll be needing the home widget package. That is the main package that we will be using to add our home widgets using the Flutter application. So we can update them, we can save them, and we can initialize them by using our Flutter application, but we have to include home widget package. Makes sense. Then we have our DaVinci. So this DaVinci, what it will do, it will translate. So let me explain you the whole process, how we'll be doing this. So we'll be first rendering the widget, and from that widget, we'll be translating that into an image, and that image we are going to then initialize inside our native code. So either it can be Android or for iOS. So this DaVinci, what it does is that it does the translation part for us. So it helps us to easily translate any widget to its image form that we can get and store that inside our mobile, right? And the best part is that the widget doesn't have to be rendered on the screen, that we'll talk about just in a moment. Then we need the path provider basic. Then else we need Flutter weather BG null safety. This package is optional because I used it for the background. So you can see that the background, and it does have some animations as well. So I use this package, and this is the weather. So this weather is for the open API. So this is for the open weather API that I used to get the real-time weather data here. So this is for the API. So these two are optional. If you are making any other application, you won't be needing that. But these three packages are the main packages that you need to make the home widgets using just Flutter. All right. Then we have 3 or 4 folders: constant, models, views, and then our main.dart. So inside our main.dart, you can see basic app. We are navigating to the dashboard screen. Inside the dashboard screen, I am using the weather package and I am passing my API key here. So this is nothing but the API key that I have, that I got from the dashboard of the open weather API that we need. And based on that, we'll be getting. So this is a location. So here I am picking a random location. So this is a location class, and I created a factory method, and it is fetching a random location from these location, right? So this is a random location. Current weather, then we have initially it will be null. So in the init state, we are using the home widget config. So I made a file home widget config dot initialize, and once it is initialized, then we'll call our API and update the UI of the home widget. Makes sense. So let's go in the call API and update UI method. So what it will do, it will take up a random location, get the current weather by the lat long, and then we will initialize our current weather inside the variable, and then using the home widget config, we will simply update that, and we'll pass a widget what we want to update it with. So this home widget is nothing but this widget that you can see in the home screen. This is the widget for the home widget that we have to pass. So this update method takes context and it takes a widget. Whatever widget you will pass, it will show that inside our home widget. Either it is Android or iOS, both it supports, right? So here we are simply updating it. So call API and update UI. Same function I'm calling inside the refresh button that we have on the bottom right. You can see here, on clicking that, I will click it and it will automatically call API and update UI. So it will call the API, current weather will be updating, set state we are calling, so that everything in the app also will change, as well as we are calling the home widget config.update, so that now if I go back, you can see that my home widget is also changed. Makes sense, right? Then we have our basic Flutter code here. We have a floating action button. Then I use a stack, and inside the stack we have our weather BG, that is the package that I used for the weather BG null safety for the backgrounds. And right, then we have our column center. So there we have some sized box, descriptions, this is the description, then the city name, and then the weather. So this is the basic code that we have. Inside the model, we have 2 models, location for lat long. These locations we are storing for random location, and for the weather. So every weather will have a weather, city name, description, image, and a weather type. So that is a enum. You can see this is the enum. All right, makes sense. So this is the model. Inside the constants, we have an extension. So this is extension is using from code. So basically the weather code that I am getting from the API, I am converting that into a enum. So I pass this from code here. So from the code from the API, we will be changing it to the enum. Okay. Now this is the views, dashboard, home widget. Home widget is like the main widget that we have. It is a box. We have gradient we are passing. So you can see that if I come back, there's a gradient. This is light, this is dark. So this gradient we are passing here. We have a box 170 by 170. We can also change the box size accordingly, how much space is available. Then we have a column, and based on that we are simply rendering the data here. Makes sense? Perfect. So this is the views. Now let's talk about the most important thing here, that is the home widget config that I made, because that is the only thing that is initializing and that is updating it, right? So let's see what it is. Here what we are doing is that in the initialize we are using the home widget package, and we are setting the app group ID. So this group ID we are setting when we are initializing. Makes sense, right? And then here we are updating. So whenever we want to update, so this group ID I'll show you. I have in the constants file, we have a strings.dart, and here you can see we have my API key that I got from the open API. There is a Android widget, there is one iOS widget, and there is one group ID. So this group ID we are passing from our constants. Now I'll show you just in a moment how you can get your own group ID, iOS widget name, Android widget name. So don't worry about that. Once we have our group ID, we have to pass that so that our home widget will be initialized inside our home page. Then inside the update method, it takes context and it takes widget. Now based on the DaVinci capture package, it will take the widget and it will give back us the uint8list bytes for that image. So we'll be using this bytes data, and I will be storing that inside our application support directory. On the date time, you can change this logic if you want, and then I'll be save widget data. So we have a variable file name inside our native code for the Swift or Java, and this file name we are passing the file path, and we are updating the variable first, and then we are updating our widgets for both iOS as well as for the Android, and here we are passing the iOS and Android names. Now I know it can be a little bit complicated, like why we are passing file name, what is this save widget data? So this save widget data is updating a variable that we have inside our native code known as file name. So to make things more clear, what I'll do is let's start with our Android configuration as well. Inside our Android, you can see if I close everything here, what you have to do inside the Android, open it up, go to app, go to src, then main, and here Android manifest.xml. Here I added this part of the code. As you can see, this part you have to adjust, nothing else. And above the metadata and below the activity tag, we have to add this receiver. Okay, I'll show you. And here you need to change the custom home view. So what this custom home view represents is that if you come here to inside the Kotlin, you can see that we have our main activity that is empty. You don't have to change anything here. I made one custom home view, and inside that I added this code. So basically you can see that we have file name here. So what it is doing is that Flutter and both Android and iOS have like shared preferences or data storage. So we'll be storing our file path inside the data storage by the key as file name, and then our native code will pick it up the file path using the file name. So this variable has to be same with the variable that we have in the Flutter code, right? So this is the code. Basically what it is saying that on update, because here we are updating the widget. So on update, listening it is doing, and then basically what we are doing here, we are rendering our widget layout. We are rendering the widget layout, we are getting the image path, and then we are decoding that, and then we are updating our widget image. Let me show you what I mean. So here, once you add this code, we have to add one last thing inside. So inside the res folder, inside you have to create one XML folder, and inside that XML folder we have to add this home widget demo.example as well. So this code we need to add here, home widget demo example, and inside our layout folder we need to add our widget layout. So these files, these 4 files, we have to update for our Android configuration. This is nothing but a image we are showing. So here you can see that we have a linear layout. Linear layout is like a column and image view is like image. So here we have one image ID known as widget image. So inside our Android, inside our Kotlin file, inside our custom home view, you can see that we are getting r.layout.widget layout. So layout resources layout widget layout. So this widget layout represents that, right? So this widget layout represents that, and then our image widget image. So here inside the widget image we are getting the ID widget image, and then we are updating the image inside that using our Kotlin. So here we are updating based on the file paths that we are storing the image inside. Okay, so this is the widget layout, pretty basic. You don't have to change anything inside the widget layout. Let's just close that. And this is the file path. Make sure that the r.layout file widget layout has to be same with the file name here. Also, the widget image ID has to be same with the image view ID here. Okay, that's about it. And this XML file, so here we have to add this code which will initialize our layout known as widget layout, right? Okay, and you can see that in the Android manifest.xml we added this receiver. So here the Android name, this custom home view will represent the class name for the Kotlin file, and then you need to pass the resource file, the XML file, that is home widget demo example that we added here. This file name should match here, and custom home view should match with the Kotlin file. So that's it. This is all you have to do for the Android configuration. And once that is done, you don't have to do anything, just update the Flutter code, and based on that you will get the image and it will show you inside our home widget. Same we have to do for the iOS as well. So let me show you. Go to the iOS and here open in Finder. I'll open in Finder, open iOS, and here let me open up runner.xcode project. So here inside Xcode, what you have to do, you have to first go to File, New, then go to Target, and here you need to add widget extension. So if you scroll down, you have your widget extension. You have to click Next, give it a product name, hit Finish, and then you will be getting to this page where if you click on Runner, you will be having one targets as 2. Runner, that is our Flutter application, and then this home widget demo extension that you will make, right? So both of these four, you have to go to the signing in capabilities, add a capability as group. So here search group, app groups, you can see here app groups we need to add. So here you have to add group dot and then ID you can pass. So I already made one, that is home widget demo group. Whatever ID you will make here, you need to add that same one inside a runner as well. So app group inside you need to add here also. So both places same ID has to be there. Whatever ID you have added, you need to add that inside your Flutter project. So move over to Android, go to constants, and here group ID you will paste it. Easy. Now this Android widget is custom home view that we already talked about, the Kotlin file, that class name you need to pass here. And this iOS widget is nothing but whenever you click file and new target, whatever project name you have given, in my case I have given as home widget demo. So that is what I have added here as the iOS widget name. Right, so that is it. Now inside the home widget demo, you just need to change this home widget demo.swift file. Here we have a little bit of Swift UI code. You need to add it once and do nothing after that. Once this runner group ID for both runner and the widget extension is added, then we can move over to our home widget demo or the Swift application for the project. After that, import the widget kit Swift UI and intents. Create one timeline provider. So struct is like class in Flutter. So you have to create a struct provider. It will have placeholder, get snapshot and get timeline. Placeholder is like whenever you are creating, whenever you are initializing it by default, so what it will show. So placeholder is like the initialization value, dummy value. So here I pass no screenshot available, any text you can pass as a file name. So here we have a model simple entry. Simple entry is like a model which has date, file name and display size. This file name is important because this file name we will be having inside our Flutter code as well, file name. That is why. And date is mandatory. We have to add date to the model. Display size will help us to recognize how much size we have for the widget, if it is small, medium or large. So these three parameters I added. Based on that, I am passing, initializing it, date as now date, file name as an empty string, display size at the context.display size. This display size is like MDOF in Flutter. Then we have our get snapshot. So this get snapshot here, what it is doing is basically whenever you are adding. So for example, if you go here and search for widget home widget demo, you can see the widget. This image that we are getting is nothing but a snapshot, right? So this snapshot it is. So here suite name, you need to pass your group ID here. For key, now it is taking from the database file name if we have, and then it is updating that entry. So you can see that image we can see here as well. Okay, so we have one entry, simple entry, date we are initializing as now, file name and display size. And then we are returning that entry. Completion is like return and that. Then get timeline, we are passing context, completion. So here get the timeline, we are simply calling our get snapshot only. So here nothing we are doing, get snapshot we are calling. Okay, then we have our home widget demo. So this is the widget which will be called next, right? So that is the iOS widget that we are passing in Flutter also. So kind you need to pass as string iOS widget name, same widget name, widget configuration. Now this home widget demo is nothing but the title that will come, and description. This is my home widget, this is the description. Supported families, right now I added system small. You can make it multiple, like system medium, system large, and based on that more home widgets will come. Okay, now here what we are doing, it is a static configuration, and here we are calling the home widget demo entry view. So this is the entry view and we are passing the provider entry. So we are getting the entry here, and based on that we are calculating the custom image. So entry.filename UI image we are using, and custom image we will get. Inside the body it is like scaffold. In that we are calling custom image dot scaled to fill padding 0, so that whatever image that we will be getting, it will be scaled to fit, completely expanded it will be, right? And that is it. We don't have to do anything else inside our iOS configuration, right? So we can move over. and this file name is nothing but here it is taking from the database. This is the file name. So that is it. Here we have talked about the Android configuration as well as iOS configuration, what we have to do. Only thing that we need to change to update the UI is our views home widget and home widget dot image text text image text text. That is nothing else. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I personally did while making this video, and I personally learned a lot. If you do as well, then make sure to give it a like, subscribe my channel, and share this videos with your friends as well. If you have any doubts, suggestions, then comment them below as well, and I'll be happy to read them out. I'm Ishmael. Peace out.